Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. We are back. We are on a roll here, okay? Back to back to back. We have been doing videos. Welcome. If you don't know me, my name is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. And we would like to welcome you over here to this channel if you are new here. If you have been rocking with your girl for a minute and you are intellect, and if you are an intellect with a membership, welcome back and thank you so much for rocking with your girl. Let me first shout out my girl, It's the Rocks, for gifting one membership to whoever received this membership. Please make sure that you thank It's the Rocks. You guys know the protocol. I see that there's a lot of likes on here. If you guys can continue that trend to hit that like button. We're trying to grow over here. We have to get in this good algorithm so people know that we are over here breaking down the legal news from the neighborhood to Hollywood. And before we get started, because we back talking about Sean Diddy Combs, even though I said I was tired of talking about him, but he just keeps giving and giving and giving and giving. So I'm like, okay, let's go live, Sean. I mean, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and set up this live. But before we get started, I know that we do have some intellects that are in Florida, and I did do a post. I hope you guys are remaining safe. I know some of you guys had to evacuate, and we all are definitely praying for you. We aren't just saying that. We really are praying for you. So before you guys lay your heads down and you pray for your mama and your daddy and your kids, hoping that they act right, and your neighbor, hoping they don't step on your lawn, please make sure that while you're talking to God, that you go ahead and you pray for those in Florida. And I hope you guys are safe. Stay safe, and I want you guys to watch me, but if it means you guys are, using your battery or something that you need to preserve, my feelings won't be hurt. You can just catch it on the replay. I go back into the comments with the replay as well. But the important part is for you to be able to reach out if you need to, and to, preserve whatever batteries and stuff that you have. But we thinking about you. I was sitting up there watching the storm like I was some meteorologist. I was like, dang, I should have been a meteorologist. I was looking at it. It was very interesting. I mean, I watched it for a good 2 hours. I'm washing dishes, watching all these tornadoes and stuff that were happening. There's just a lot going on over there in Florida. So we're thinking about you all over this here country. And we just wanted to let you know that even though we're talking about Sean, we do know what is important. We really do. Mrs. C60 Virgo, thank you for being a member for 4 months. And she said, I am in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, you stay safe, Mrs. C. Stay safe, okay? Said it's, I bet it is scary. It looks scary, okay? I was like, I have never seen anything like this. And maybe I just haven't looked at people that are doing simulations and showing a person standing there and then the water coming up and coming up past their heads and all these different simulations they're doing. It just seems like this was advertised to be. You had the governor come out and just say, if you stay here, I think it was in Tampa, you're going to die. I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, so this is a rough one. But we know, we pray Psalms 91 that whatever storm that comes through, the terror by day or by night, that it passes over and that all of your housings, your belongings, of course, yourself primarily, will be not touched, won't be harmed, and that's it. In Jesus' name, amen. Oh, it was the mayor. Okay. Auntie Eva said it was the mayor that said that. All right. I just saw the clip of it. I was like, my God, like, this is what we're saying. Get out or you won't be alive. Like, dang. Okay. So, yeah, it was a bit rough. You guys come on in and hit that like button. So yesterday we were on live, and well, if you're in the membership, you pretty much knew I probably was going to come back because there was a filing on the Diddy case earlier today, and in that filing there was a piece of information where his attorney said we will be filing various motions. First of all, they said that they plan on requesting a trial date sometime in April or May of 2025. So we won't be seeing a trial, sounds like, for at least 5 to 6 months. Okay, that is going to be their request when they go trying to figure out dates that are convenient, I guess, to the court and to each party, being the government and the defense, that's going to be the dates around or about that they're going to be requesting. Secondly, within that same document, they also mentioned that they were going to file various motions. And one of the motions they were going to file, they mentioned that they were going to file it today, which was done. And that motion was going to be a motion for an evidentiary hearing because of all the leaks. Now, we know over here that Mayor Eric Adams' attorney had already requested sanctions. And when we talked about that, I mentioned Diddy, and I said I would be surprised if Diddy's people did not attempt to do the same, because we don't know. And a lot of the opinions about Diddy are premised on things that we've seen in the media. And the major thing that cannot be denied that made Diddy come out and have to admit it was that video from 2016 of the Cassie beating, let's just say what it is, in the hotel. And it didn't come out till I think it was after the raids is when it came out. So there's a lot of speculation. Then it ended up on CNN. When it did happen, it was on, when it was released, it was on CNN. We're like, CNN, you think that is gonna come on TMZ or something? Like, what you mean CNN? So it ended up on CNN, and that video was also used in this bond hearing. And we also saw it in the indictment. So it was a critical piece that's being used to that makes Diddy look bad. I mean, aside from, we saw the lawsuits, and what was happening with the lawsuits is, I think a lot of us believed what Cassie was saying. We were looking like, this seems, then it was a couple of people that was named in the lawsuit that came out and that they basically admitted, like Kid Cudi with the car and all of that. So that came out. So a lot of us really believe that. But then, as which happens often, you get a bunch of copycat pleadings. And those, I think we looked with a little bit more of a critical eye on what was the motive behind it. So some of them seemed a bit outlandish. We were looking at some of the attorneys that was on it like, okay, they're going to have to show me more than this. Like the one with Lil Rod Jones, okay? Within that one, he really only wanted his money because he was alleging he was working on an album and he never got paid. But he had like, what, 20, 30, 40 pages of salaciousness, and he was throwing in what, Young Miami and her cousin, saying the cousin accosted him, actually accosted him, and was saying an actor that was in there tried to do this, like all type of stuff, where it just started seeming like, okay. Then he brought in Lucian Grange, and he brought in UMG, and said that they were helping to fund the trafficking. It just got so out of hand, and we're like, okay, we're about to see a bunch of complaints that we're going to be side-eyeing. And actually, on that case, that attorney Blackburn and the client right now, UMG, Lucian Grange, Motown, I think, like the different entities, they were dismissed out of that case. And so they have filed a motion for sanctions. They want, which their attorney fees and stuff is well in the six figures. They want Lil Rod and his attorney to have to pay their attorney fees because they wrote a letter and said, hey, you got the wrong information, dismiss us. His attorney basically ignored it according to them. Well, they showed the paperwork of which they were trying to get him to dismiss it. So every time you don't dismiss it, now this attorney has to do work to try to represent their client. So then they had a complaint, and the UMG and Lucian Grange, all of them, they had to respond to it. And so that was money. And then he amended the complaint 2 or 3 times or something. But anyway, he amended the complaint. They had to respond to that. So every time they do that, and then eventually his attorney said, oh, I guess we don't have legal claims against you, so we're going to dismiss you. But this wasn't until all this information is out there. They're looking at these people like you did something wrong. Your name has been attributed to these different heinous acts. And so his attorney was like, because that attorney had actually, being Blackburn, was accused of filing frivolous lawsuits before. So they weren't letting him off the hook. So now he has to go, I believe, in like 2 weeks. And he's trying to fight where he doesn't have to pay their attorney fees. So, but nonetheless, I say all that just to say that we were looking at some of these civil lawsuits like, okay, we were looking at them a little bit more with scrutiny. But when that video came out, we were like, this joker, no, he didn't just sit up there and grab that girl like that. That's how I was looking at the video. When I saw it, I was like, no, he didn't just grab her like that. Did he just kick her? Oh my God, he just kicked her and he's just grabbing her by her hair. It was just so shocking on so many levels. And that image has played in a lot of our minds. And so just imagine if that video never came out. How, even though we'll be looking, because we've heard all this stuff about what happens at these parties and all of that, some of us will still be side-eyeing him like that. And y'all know my beef since the cheesecake incident. But that right there, I think, was a situation where we was like, yeah, you just trash. You know what I'm saying? From just a emotional standpoint, we was just like, yeah, you trash. So I did wonder, and I said it, I was like, how is all this stuff getting out? And I did have that question. I was like, how do they know who is going to the grand jury? How do they know it was 1 male and 3 females or something going to the grand jury? I had those questions because obviously, where is that coming from? It's like, where would you get that type of information from? And so Diddy's attorney has the same question. And he would like an evidentiary hearing because he is not necessarily blaming the U.S. Attorney's Office. He made it clear. He ain't trying to beef with them, okay? He ain't trying to beef with them like that. But it does sound like he has some blaming on the agents. Because if you read a lot of the quotes that we heard in the articles, it does seem like they were saying they mentioned one of the Department of Homeland Security, because remember, they were there for the raids. And so they want to figure out who is letting all this stuff out to the media, because obviously it is prejudicial. It is prejudicial. Who let this type of information out. This ain't just something that was filed, like some phone calls or something that's public record, and they tell you your calls are being recorded. Like, it's not anything like that. This is like information that's allegedly from, like, of course, going to the grand jury. Like, who would know that? You know, that's just not public information that is out there. So let's look and see. Morky Mom said our nation is standing in the need of prayer. Yes, we are. What did 504 say before I get into this? You know, she already on her cutting up and we only 15 minutes in. Come on now, 504. I need her. She gonna have to sit in the front row. You know how in church you had kids that were, you know, they knew how to behave so they can go over and sit with their friends over on the right side of the church while you were on the left side. 504 is that person that has to sit right next to you. And then you might have to pinch a few times and be like, shh, shh, stop talking. Stop smacking that gum in church. Stop it. She said, being from Louisiana, I'm definitely praying for Floridians, praying for my grown and bougie intellects. If you lose a wall, you can come stand by me. Because she knows that is her permanent spot. She stays, she stays in timeout. She probably has a shirt that said timeout. Girl, you stayed in timeout in school, didn't you? Huh? You always had a letter going home to your parents. Hmm. Huh? For always forever said grand jury is very secretive. It's supposed to be, allegedly. Allegedly it's supposed to be. You said Sensible Creation said 504 was sitting next to Big Mama at church. Absolutely she was. She was getting them butterscotches like they had to pull out. Girl, just stop talking, giving her the butterscotches and the peppermints so she could stop talking. I know she was a handful. Had that little switch in the bag, you know how they gotta just show you as a warning shot. Just pull it out like this and just show a little piece of it, a little piece of your switch. Like that was 504. Woo, the Little Gaming Channel. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, Pam, did the Cassie video come out after the raid? If so, the feds released it. We're gonna read about it. We're gonna read this. Everything speculation right now. And again, I didn't read the whole thing because if I have to reread it again, like, huh? You know, I'm all about my time. I get paid for my time. So I read the first couple of pages and I see if this is good. You got to captivate me in the first 2 pages. Okay. And then if it's something that's like, okay, you saying some juicy stuff right here. I'm like, Deb, we about to go live. Okay. That's kind of like how I gauge it. So they can get me in the first 2 pages, and the rest might be, you know, not even saying nothing because that's all I do read is the first couple of pages, and then I read the rest with you guys. As I ain't about to keep reading the same thing over and over again unless it's my client. I'm not getting paid per hour. As you heard, Adam's attorney, who is also Jay-Z's attorney, Eric Adams, that attorney he got, that's Jay-Z's attorney. That man charges $2,000 an hour. Okay. So we get paid for our time. I don't get paid $2,000 an hour yet. Notice I said yet. But we get paid for our time. And speaking of Jay-Z's attorney, did y'all see him over on TMZ? We talked about him yesterday, where he basically said, I didn't send a cease and desist. I sent an ultimatum. Okay. Either Piers Morgan, you take that ish down right now, or what is going to happen is, let's see what they said. Let me see. I'm going to pull it up for y'all. What's going to happen is you're going to see me in court. That's what had happened. So we're going to play this from TMZ. Let's see.
This must have been shocking to you that somebody comes on a show and then kind of levels these vague-ish allegations. Were you kind of ready for something like this to eventually happen?
Listen, there's rumors and then there's nonsense, and this is one step further, right? This is a pointed and formal accusation of something, and I felt it needed to be responded to. So I think somebody reported it was a cease and desist. It wasn't that. It was quite bluntly an ultimatum, which is remove that false accusation that's demonstrably false, or a court's going to order you to. And so I think he made the wise choice and acted accordingly.
He meaning Piers Morgan.
Removing it and apologizing for it, yes. What changed here in my mind is that somebody on a so-called journalistic platform exploited that kind of random rumor mill, whether it's disconnected from reality or what have you, and lifted it up. And by doing that, they not only caused harm here, but they are also droning out the voices of real victims. And by doing that to get clicks, he didn't just harm the Carters. What he did effectively was to drone out the voices of actual victims in an ongoing case and an ongoing investigation. And that was too much for me.
Are you in the process of making sure that it is taken down everywhere?
What I am here to say is that in a situation as serious as this, somebody who puts themselves out as a journalist should not effectively take advantage of the situation and exploit somebody in this way. And so that's the real reason for action.
Does it strike you a little bit that there's been a lot of silence in Hollywood in the wake of all of this?
Well, as to the Carters, I can tell you that when they put their foot down on something as they did here, they are sending a message. And if they can't stand up and make sure right from wrong, then who can? I've always believed that the truth.
Did y'all hear that? So, first of all, I think what his attorney was alleging is that Jaguar Wright ain't all the way wrapped too tight. Okay. So why are you exploiting her on the platform and then allowing these rumors to come forward? And you call yourself a journalist. And he said, well, I call myself a lawyer. And if you don't take that down, we're going to see you in court, because that's what I do. Okay. You get on there and have people like Jaguar Wright come on to talk about my client. I go to court and I make you pay for having people come on your platform irresponsibly and talk about my client. So then when TMZ was like, what about with other platforms? Listen, I don't care about other people. They're not paying me $2,000 an hour, okay? But when it comes to the Carters, that's the whole family. I'm going to do what I got to do. And I am going to put my foot down, okay? And that is that. All right. So anybody that want to be out here and just want to throw Jay-Z, Beyonce out here, you might as well do it at your own risk. You got your warning. This was the warning shot. Okay. Do it at your own risk. We ain't got nothing but money and time. Okay. Look at his attorney sitting up there on TMZ in his nice and comfy office. Okay. You better come with some facts, some receipts, and an actual indictment before you be talking about them Carters. That's what they said. 504, thank you so much for the super chat. She said, paying on my bond ahead of time. You do need to have legal services ahead of time. Go ahead and just pay that prepaid legal. Go ahead. Because you stay in trouble, stay in stuff. HFG, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. But I'm telling y'all, for real, when it comes to, that's why certain things you're not going to see me cover. I'm just not. Even if it's hearsay within hearsay, meaning somebody went on somebody's platform and then I'm just repeating what was said on the platform that wasn't my platform. There's certain things I'm just not going to say because some of this stuff is so outlandish that it makes, it's like, why some people report on this, I will never know on some of these topics. When does a gag order apply to her if it's lies? Well, so this is the thing, and I explained it yesterday. One of the reasons why a lot of celebrities do not file lawsuits against people is because it magnifies it. Right? It's called the Streisand effect, is what we call it in the legal realm. And that just came from a story of Barbara Streisand, who it was something had to do with a picture where some photographer on Instagram or social media took a picture of the house, took a picture of her house. He only had about 800 followers or something like that. She sued him. like an invasion of privacy and all of that, and it blew up. Because we're like, Barbara Streisand suing somebody. So then that makes you look at the person. It makes you follow them. Probably now that they want to do interviews with the guy. So now you're bringing more attention to the actual situation, which is what you don't want. So with Jay-Z and Beyonce, they don't pay attention to a lot of these rumor mills. They probably sit back on their yacht laughing at half of these people. But then you got somebody like Piers Morgan, where it's actually a national platform. You call yourself a journalist, your reach is bigger than maybe us, small timers or whatever on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. Your reach is bigger. You may have a situation where people think you're credible, so you only have credible people on there. You call yourself a journalist. You're backed by, I think, a billionaire. I want to say, he's not just Joe Smo. Yeah, he got a YouTube channel, but he's considered a actual journalist with a show that has backing by a billionaire. Okay. We're going to put a stop to this. Okay. I mean, and that's what it was. And for them to not even have to send you a written communication, they just like, yo, Pierce, everything that you're saying is a lie. Everything that girl said on that platform is a whole lie when it comes to my clients. And you need to cut that out right now. Cut that part of the conversation out. And you need to apologize. You know it's D when all they do is a phone call and that's it. You didn't even get a formal written demand of any kind. They just was like, yo, take that down right now or I'm going to see you in court. And they was like, okay. That editor said, wait a minute. That editor started, you know how when you editing and you got to try to get it. Wait a minute. 2 minutes and 55 seconds. They was like, cut. They cut that mug right at the spot that needed to be cut. And he got on there and said, we don't take it very lightly when we have to edit out things. But I think this is a situation where we need to edit out. To Jay-Z and Beyonce, please accept my sincerest apologies. So anyway, to answer your question about a gag order, first of all, you have to a motion, basically we're trying to ask for an injunction to stop them from talking or to take it down or whatever. But heck, his attorney ain't got to do that. It sounds like the attorney just can pick up the phone and say, take that down or I'm going to see you in court. And that's it. Shoot, you see how cheap that was? I mean, not for Beyonce and them because he charged $2,000 an hour. He probably does it in 15-minute increments. So even if he talks to you for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, whatever, it's going to be part of that 2K. So April B said, thank you for your hard work, Pam. Thank you so much for supporting. I appreciate that. Spicy Delight. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate the support. And then also when it comes to Jaguar, she ain't got no money. What you getting? And if she does have any type of mental health challenges, you think she just gonna stop? She got the restraint to just stop and say, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna go on, even though I don't know if she's getting paid, but I know if she goes on her own YouTube channel, it's probably monetized or whatever people are doing, or it's keeping her in the spotlight. Because you got to look at it. Jaguar was like Jay-Z's background singer back in the day. Like she hasn't been out in a while. She has a beautiful voice though, but she hasn't been out in a little minute. I have seen little clips where she's shown up here and there. Okay. Rupert Murdoch owns that network. Yeah, I knew it was a billionaire, but his name was not coming off my tongue. So, but thank you so much, the Little Gaming Channel. I appreciate that. April B, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Val, I'm gonna need you to focus at work, okay? Our family is our family is okay, but we haven't bought that city yet. I'm still trying to build the city and get our charter together so we can have our own city. but we ain't got it yet. So I'm gonna need you to pay attention at work and just watch the replay. But I thank you so much for your dedication to this channel, Marty. I appreciate that. But go back to work. Starfish and Coffee said Piers Morgan might be big in the USA, but over here in the UK, he has been still in love with Meghan. He has no syndication over here. So you telling us we take y'all trash? That's what you saying, Starfish and Coffee? The United States is taking the UK's trash. Is that what you're alleging? That's what I got out of that statement. Oh my goodness. Name change 412 said England's reject MAGA loyalists. Yeah. So anyway, guys, you know, it's always cool to be able to chit chat with you guys. Name my city Legal Land. That would be a good name. You guys are laughing, but I really was looking at a charter. I figured I am such a unique person that I just need my own time. That's just the conversation me and Dev had. So we were looking at how you do the charter, how you pick the mayor, how many people you have to have. Like in some states, you got to at least have 300 people. So if you have the charter of, I know I can get about 300, at least 300 intellects to come live in my city. I mean, so I just want to start from scratch. I'm going to have different rules and regulations. You know what I'm saying? I just figured that I can show the United States how to really run a entity, which is the city, and we're going to all have health care. We're all going to be working. We're all going to have fresh fruits and vegetables from the farming. We're going to have something like to watch the kids. We're not going to, certain people, you know, you're not going to be a fit for our city, okay? Because we will put you out the city. We ain't going to put you in jail. We're just going to put you out the city, okay? We're going to run you out the whole city. I just thought it was a good idea. I was looking at how to create the charter and everything. That's where my mind is. I don't want to go to, you can buy Diddy's island. Diddy sell it? Yeah, I don't want nothing that Diddy was in. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go in there with holy water and anointing oil, and I gotta go put a cross on every doorpost. And I'm good. I gotta go walk through the whole land and put oil to saturate the ground because of all of these freak offs and parties and stuff that was happening. Because he ain't denied that there was some freaky things going on. He just said it wasn't illegal what he was doing. That's too much. You know what I'm saying? Like the way I would have to get all the intercessors to come over there, get the ones from Africa so they can come and try to bless my land because it was Diddy. That's too much work. I'm not doing it. Pam, why you still in Nesto's idea? Thank you for the super chat. Listen. Nesto needs to work. Okay, Lance. You said your hazmat suit. Don't forget your hazmat suit. Exactly. You said, nah, I don't have to charter Charville. I'll serve on your city council. Thank you so much. See how fast we can get us a city together? It's plenty of us over here. Why don't we have our own city? You know, and then we can just sit back and you know, watch all the other foolishness in all the other cities, because ours is not going to have that type of foolishness. Bible lady said, us intercessors ain't got that much time. Okay, let's see what the defense attorney for Diddy has to say. This is going to take us a minute because it was pretty long. But he said, this is the introduction. You guys ready? Hold on to your seats. This is how he's coming out swinging. He said, defendant Sean Combs moves for 4 forms of relief related to what the defense believes was a series of unlawful government leaks, which have led to damaging, highly prejudicial pretrial publicity that can only taint the jury pool and deprive Mr. Combs of his right to a fair trial. Mr. Combs requests 1. An evidentiary hearing to examine government misconduct in connection with the leaks. 2. Discovery of emails, documents, and records in the possession of the government, including DHS, Department of Homeland Security, related to these leaks. Number 3, a gag order prohibiting government personnel from disclosing any evidence or investigative material related to this case to any member of the media. And 4, suppression of any evidence leaked by government employees in violation of Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure 6E or any other law, rule, or regulation. The available evidence makes a prima facie showing that the government, primarily through DHS, has engaged in a 7-month campaign with 3 objects. 1, preventing Mr. Combs from getting fair consideration by the grand jury. 2, preventing him from getting a fair trial. And 3, strategically leaking confidential grand jury material and information, including the 2016 intercontinental videotape, in order to prejudice the public and potential jurors against Mr. Combs. The government's scheme to undermine Mr. Combs' right to a fair proceeding has several methods and means. First, there has been a steady stream of false and prejudicial statements made by DHS agents to various press outlets over the last 7 months. Second, the agents engaged in a particularly brutal and public search of Mr. Combs' home, during which they handcuffed Mr. Combs' innocent sons and then marched them before a news helicopter and the press. This was an apparent effort to convey that they had overwhelmingly evidence against Mr. Combs, justifying the public and brutal treatment of even his children, who were handcuffed and mishandled by federal agents armed with assault rifles. Third, government employees have repeatedly leaked grand jury information and materials to the press to raise public hostility against Mr. Combs in advance of trial. There's a leak in this old building, and my soul. Y'all remember that song? Whoa, my soul. There's a leak in this old building. I don't know why that made me think of that song. I don't know. Let's go on. The most egregious examples of this is the leak to CNN of the 2016 videotape from the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. As detailed below, the CNN leak was but one of a long and documented history of leaks and false statements made with one purpose: to savage Mr. Combs' reputation prior to trial. While the government's misconduct in this case is particularly egregious, it is unfortunately part of a trend in this district. The government has learned that it can strategically leak information with impunity. This court should exercise its authority to prohibit these underhanded tactics, which severely undermine a criminal defendant's right to a fair trial. Y'all hear this? Then they go, look, they have all this powerful stuff. Then they're like, at the outset, the defense wants to be clear with the court as to what our theory is, and it's not. We do not contend that the leaks were orchestrated by the U.S. Attorney's Office. So basically, Mr. Attorney General, I mean, not General, Mr. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, we don't want no smoke, okay? We ain't saying it's coming from your office now, okay? Like, you the ones we going against right now, and that ain't what we saying right now. We want to be clear. We talking about your agents here. We talking about the governmental agents, all right? Rather, we contend that the false media statements and the grand jury leaks complained of below were planned and executed by DHS. As the parties develop more information in this regard, the court will see that the defense repeatedly contacted the prosecutors and stated in substance that their agents were leaking information to the press. That's exactly what Eric Adams' attorney said, that they were contacting the prosecutor's office saying the same thing. Yet, regardless of what, if any, action the U.S. Attorney's Office took, the leaks continued, even until after the arrest. The reason a hearing is needed is to determine exactly what the DHS did and did not do regarding these leaks, and what the U.S. Attorney's Office did and did not do to stop them. The evidence of government misconduct is clear enough already that this court is justified in using its authority to craft appropriate remedies. Mr. Combs requested this court order discovery and an evidentiary hearing to investigate the government's misconduct. The abuse here is clear, but without a hearing, it would remain unknown how far or where the abuse reached. And they are quoting excerpts from United States v. Waters, which is over there in the Second Circuit. An evidentiary hearing is thus necessary. In addition, if the hearing demonstrates that the violation of grand jury secrecy was intentional, as we expect it will, the court should order the suppression of the videotape and or any other illegally disclosed evidence, as well as other potential sanctions. So can y'all imagine if they're able to prove this, and then because they're able to prove this, that videotape that is in that indictment and that videotape that has people side-eyeing him is suppressed, meaning they cannot use that as evidence and the jury cannot consider that. That's what suppression means, that you can't consider anything that is the fruit of this poisonous tree, which is this leak. So this is why I say this, and I said it yesterday, and you guys was like, Pen, whatever, we don't like them, we don't really care. Everything, even if there is evidence of certain things that we may tangibly see, there is something called a motion in limine, and we file that before trials. And what you do is, if you first you do what they're doing and you try to suppress it, see if you could suppress it for whatever reason, saying they didn't have probable cause to get the warrant or whatever their reasoning is, or saying this was a leak from the secret grand jury and all of that type stuff. But you also have, you have these motions of which we file, and the purpose is to prevent certain information from getting to the jury. And we'll say the reasonings, because you don't want it to be, you can't unring a bell. So all of that, yes, we object during trial, but a lot of the main issues we'll try to get it where you can't bring it up at all, even before we get to trial. And it's called a motion in limine. And what happens is we'll say motion in limine to prevent the introduction of the 2016 tape at the Intercontinental Hotel with the defendant and his girlfriend. That would be the title. And they'll come to the reasons as to why, but the last reason will always be it's more prejudicial than probative. It's probably what they will put in that motion, because you're not here on domestic violence. You're not here for this reason. You're here for these reasons right here, and it's not connected. So we think if the jury sees this, they're going to look at us some type of way, like the public is looking at me. And so, Your Honor, we ask that you do not allow this to be admitted into evidence. And then that information may not even go into evidence anyway. So even though you may see certain evidence out here or things that you think is evidence, look at like Jonathan Major's trial. There's going to be things that the other side is both sides are going to argue that shouldn't come into the trial. So even though that stuff exists, right now, they're saying all it's doing is tainting the grand jury, because they still are sitting and they may have to hear evidence for either superseding indictments, adding more people, more defendants, alleged co-conspirators, all of that. So either you're tainting them or you can taint the jury pool for trial. Because if I already seen that, I can't unsee it. If they ask me to come on a jury today, which of course they not, because I ain't a resident in New York, But hypothetically, if they were going to ask me to sit there and they'll say, did you see that video? Because it was on CNN. Did you see that video of Cassie getting stomped, getting monkey stomped over there in that hotel? I'll be like, yeah. And what you think about it? I think Diddy's trash for that. They're going to be like, we would like to thank and excuse juror number 5. Because it is something that would change your perception of somebody. You cannot unring a bell. So that's what they're arguing. I know y'all don't like this process because you kind of feel like he's guilty and you don't have all of the evidence. We all know that his ego was big. He wasn't the nicest person, in my opinion. I think he didn't treat people right. And this isn't even talking about the evidence or the information. I'm not going to say evidence, but the information that has come out to the media. This is just following him for years. He's just had this cockiness about him that was like, he just has a personality I could live without. Let's just be clear. But if it is your son, if it is your brother, if it's your daddy, your uncle, you want at minimum for them to have a fair trial. And this is somebody's son. This is somebody's daddy. This is somebody's uncle. This is somebody's cousin. This is somebody's best friend. You want them to have a fair trial. And that's all I try to get you guys in that mindset, because that is what is different too. We have social media. Just imagine, like in the OJ time, if we had social media like we have now, do you think OJ, with all the stuff that was coming on TV, and if it was any leaks, that he really would have got off like that? Probably not. But anyway, that is my Fina said, what love got to do with this case? Listen, it was in the indictment. I think the point was to show that he has the propensity to be violent. And if you're trying to allege things such as trafficking and prostitution and all of that, there's a level of coercion, there's a level of violence. So even though in theory, and then she kind of said she did say in her complaint that some of this stuff she was drugged and she didn't want to do it. So that she's considered victim 1 in the incident, in the indictment. I think we've all come to that conclusion. So yeah. Y'all say he's not related to us. And that's how everybody thinks too. You know, I've heard people that have said, I know, like some people have prosecutor type mentalities. They're like, if you got arrested and I see this evidence, you did it. And that's how you get a lot of wrongful convictions too, because everybody that they point the finger at did not do it. So at least you have to try to put your emotions aside. They give you the statute. They tell you what the elements are. And you see if the facts from admissible evidence, admissible, not the stuff that ain't admissible, but admissible evidence actually fits into the statute. That's what your job is as a trier of fact. Y'all are a trip. We don't know them folks. Good God. The legal and judicial system is going to work as it always has worked. Diddy is going to give up those higher power players and a deal is going to be cut. That's if they offer him a deal. I mean, what if they don't offer him a deal? And I do think there are people bigger than him. I've heard some people that say Diddy is the big fish, but no, I think there are people bigger than him that they probably have not been able to catch. But yeah, so let's go on. You guys said we don't know them folks. Oh Lord. I'm gonna have to work on y'all. I understand. Because there's certain things where I remember me and Deb talking, and he's like, some people don't need a trial. I think they should just go to prison. I was like, so yeah, like for instance, Wade Wilson, you sitting up there just admitting to your daddy that you unalived 2 women. It is a waste of taxpayer money. I can totally see that. But that case also, because it's in Florida, had to do with the death penalty as well. So should it be death? I think that was the biggest thing with that case. But, I understand. I understand. I really do. I'm just, because I do this and I've seen the wrongs and I've seen people jump to conclusions and I've seen all of that. I don't think, like, I'll have my outrage, but then I immediately start critically thinking on both sides. I don't have all of the evidence. We pretty much know his defense is going to be, when it comes to anything sexual, was consensual. And they're also trying to make him a part of other people doing things. It sounds like they're making it like an enterprise. So even if the tapes got somebody else, got John Doe on it with another girl, they're going to still make him responsible because it's a part of the enterprise. There's a lot going on here. Yes, they don't always. Yeah, they'll tell you you can plead guilty. I'm saying, like, that's your deal. Plead guilty to all counts. Or like you can have an agreement on the punishment. So like if you guys follow me with the Ernest Williams case, Erica King, she pled guilty to everything. It was like it took them forever to rattle down everything that she pled guilty to. However, what the state of Georgia did do is they crafted where she didn't have to go to jail. So even though she pled guilty to everything, when there's a plea deal, say for instance, you got five different counts and they might drop 2, you plead guilty to 3. And then you also may add, as far as the, sentencing, and try to agree on the sentencing. Ultimately, it's up to the judge what the sentencing is going to be. Because as you've seen in the Erica King case, they agreed to a punishment. And then the judge was like, I can't agree with this. Like, she just pled to 5,000 counts. And you want me to just say, girl, just go ahead and be good for the next 5 years, and then come back and tell me how you were good 5 years later, and then you'll be done. Judge was like, no, ma'am. Judge was like, we need you to have some type of probation. You need a fine of some sort. Like, nothing really. You just go ahead and you like, okay, you have a good day, Miss King, and you come back in 5 years, and if you ain't do nothing wrong, then we all good. That was it. She wasn't going to have to report or any of that. And the judge was like, yeah, no. And so then they asked the judge, it was almost strategic where they started at the bottom. And then they asked the judge, like, well, what would it take for us to get this done? And the judge told him what he was looking for, and they just added it in there. So yeah. Mata said at least Erica wasn't playing in our face. Yeah, she pled guilty to everything. She did. We'll see. And see, with Ernest, it sounds like his attorneys, the motion is November 7th, the motion to suppress, and the demurrer motion. They're trying to get rid of the RICO count, and they're trying to suppress the subpoenas, which I told you guys we're probably going to see some motions before trial. And depending on how the judge rules, if the judge happens to grant any of those motions, then it puts him in a better position if he does, because there's certain things I think he cannot deny happened. I mean, let's be clear. You were married, to somebody else when you married. There are certain things I think that are kind of, when you look at the documents, it's going to be hard for him to deny. He still can, of course. He's innocent until proven guilty. But when you look at some of the stuff, it seems like some of it is stronger than others. And if that's the case, at least he'll have a better footing to try to attempt to get into any negotiations with the state if they're interested in it. You know what I'm saying? But of course, his attorney should not try to enter into any negotiations until he can see what leverage he may be able to have by getting some stuff dismissed. Y'all said bye-bye, Nestos. Ebony said he admitted to plenty on the car. He definitely admitted to knowing these people. He admitted to being there. I was like, why are you even admitting that you're not even making the government fight? Like, you're not making them fight at all. You're just telling, yeah, I know them. We was kicking it. Like, what? Yes, please hit that like button on your way in. Thank you so much. Let's get back to this. I almost forgot what we were doing because we just started chit-chatting, okay? Let's get to the background. The full extent of the government's misconduct cannot yet be known, but what is known is already enough. The government's tactic in the searches its constant stream of statements to the press, and the leak of the hotel video demonstrate its intent to violate grand jury secrecy rules and prejudice Mr. Combs prior to trial. Let's get into the searches. The government's campaign to prejudice Mr. Combs in the press commenced with the searches on March 25th of 2024. Notably, the searches could have been avoided altogether at no cost to the government. Prior to the searches, counsel for Mr. Combs had contacted the government twice to offer cooperation. Prosecutors thus knew that they could serve a subpoena on counsel for the phones, devices, and other items they sought. Indeed, after the searches had been conducted, the prosecutors did exactly this, serving 2 subpoenas on the undersigned seeking the identical items it sought in the search warrants. However, the prosecutors ignored defense counsel's invitation to discuss the case so that they could engage in one of the more brutal and public searches in recent memory. So prior to that, if you guys recall, Diddy's attorney said when he realized his client was under investigation, he reached out to the government to try to introduce himself like, hey, I'm representing Sean, Diddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, Love. Yeah, that's my client. And I just wanted to discuss because I've heard through the grapevine that he was being investigated. And could you please, contact me back, give me a call. Here's my contact number. Here's my office number. Here's my cell phone number. And you can also email me back. I really look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for your prompt attention to this very important matter. Then his attorney sat back and he was looking at his phone like, he was sitting back and he was like, is this thing on? Is this thing working? Wait, let me call and see if my phone is on. I paid my bill. Wait a minute. I paid my bill. Wait, let me check my email. Let me see. Nope, no email from the government. Nope. So then about a few days later, he emailed again. Hey, it's me again, Sean Combs, attorney. Remember me? I just emailed you a few days ago. Maybe it went to spam or something. I don't know because I didn't get a response. So can you hit me up? Because I heard that you guys are investigating my client. And crickets. They didn't even respond at all. So apparently they probably wasn't talking to him, I would assume. And he's saying the reason why they were ignoring him is because they wanted to have this big old search, like this big publicized search. And so that's what they're alleging, because he was gonna gladly, you guys could have served a subpoena on him and took his devices. It's cool. But you guys wanted this big old parade. You wanted this big old circus, and that's why you didn't respond, is what he's saying. At about 12:40 p.m. PST on March 25th, 2024, over 100 armed federal agents massed in 3 locations. Over 50 agents were at a residence at 2 Star Island in Miami, Florida. Over 50 more were at Mr. Combs' property in LA. And over 30 more were prepared to stop and search an airplane that Mr. Combs and his family were taking to a spring break vacation. These searches were specifically designed to be public spectacles of brutality and were not primarily focused merely on acquiring potential evidence. First, the searches were carried out in the middle of the day to optimize media exposure. Typically, searches are conducted quietly in the early mornings. In this case, however, they were conducted in the middle of the day, both in LA and Florida, so that the media could cover them before a larger audience. Second, the media was present at the inception of the LA search. In fact, one media outlet, Fox 11, boasted on air that it was on site and filming even before the crime scene tape was put up. Now that is bad, y'all. Come on. It is thus clear that the DHS alerted the media prior to the search in order to maximize exposure. Third, the agents arrived in military-style armored vehicles with scores of heavily armed agents in full combat gear. One would think they were attempting to retake Donbass rather than seize some phones and computers. The show of force had no legitimate purpose. It was merely an attempt to garner further press attention, sensationalize the case, and portray Mr. Combs as dangerous. The show of force was also particularly egregious given that authorities knew Mr. Combs' children, who are innocent and who have never been a target of this investigation, were likely to be present. Fourth, the agents used excessive force against Mr. Combs' children who were in his home doing nothing wrong. One agent held a semi-automatic rifle to the head of Christian Combs, even though he was visibly complying with the agent's demands. Another agent had a semi-automatic rifle with the laser sight trained and the orange dot visible on the middle of the chest of Justin Combs. This is why I think it was Christian's mom, Mila Hilton. She said she was contacting a lawyer and she was showing videos of how they did the kids, and she was saying how excessive and ridiculous it was. Let me see if she still has it up. Man, let's see. Hilton Misa. I don't call her Mila, Lord. Excuse me, lady. I'm sorry. It's Misa. Misa. That was a long time ago. I don't know if it's still on her IG, but yeah, she definitely showed the show of force that happened on that day. Sonia said putting the video out was worth it. It proved Diddy was lying after he denied everything and forced the power places to stand down, in my opinion. It was worth what? Breaking the law? So in order to uphold the law, you think it's cool to break the law? Because who cares that he was lying to us? Y'all thought like, who really believed Diddy when he said everything in this complaint is a lie? I didn't believe him. Who believed that? And partly was because Kid Cudi came out and corroborated it. You had Cassie's best friend came out and corroborated it. It was some of these parts that were actually corroborated. See, some of y'all be scaring me a little bit, man. End up on these juries. Did she take this down? Let me see. So I can get back to doing my good reading here. So she said happy heavenly birthday to Andre Harrell. So she ain't mad at him, because I know his name came up a few times too. She got a lot of pictures on here. She wasn't posting like this before. Misa is Justin's mom. Well, she was talking about both of them. She was saying with Christian, I think, because his mom was passed away. She was talking about both of them as well. So yeah, she was saying my kids. I know Pam's son loved for her to read stories to him. The faces and voices changes, pictures up and down. I used to read to my kids. That's how I am with my daughter. I've always read. Handcuffing those young men was out of line. That is from 504. Okay. I can't find it. The agents then handcuffed Christian and Justin inside their house and then marched them to the front yard of the house where news cameras and the Fox 11 helicopter, all invited by authorities, were waiting to get salacious footage. After perp walking These two completely innocent young men, and displaying them in handcuffs and under restraint to the media, the agents walked them back into the house, still in handcuffs, and released them. These egregious tactics had no possible purpose other than to garner sensational media coverage. It worked. The images of armed agents in full tactical gear of the military-style vehicles and of Mr. Combs' son handcuffed and under restraint, having been removed at the point of an assault weapon from their homes, made instant international news. There is a footnote here that says the agents could have brought the sons to a large fenced-in backyard where the media could not see them in handcuffs. However, they purposefully marched them in handcuffs to the front of the house where the media and the news helicopter were positioned. Statements by DHS agents to the press. With the searches concluded, the public relations campaign by the agents moved into high gear. There were scores of public statements made by the agents, only a small sampling of which will be included here. On March 25th of 2024, agents and a spokesperson from Homeland Security Investigation confirmed that the government was conducting an ongoing ex-trafficking investigation. That day, a quote source further disclosed to the press that quote 4 Jane Does and 1 John Doe already sat for interviews with the Southern District of New York investigators for a probe related to alleged ex-trafficking and racketeering, end quote, and that quote more interviews were scheduled, end quote. And the next day, which was the 26th of March, law enforcement sources told the New York Post that the agents, quote, wanted to seize the 54-year-old's phone and computers and that his properties in New York and Chicago will be next, end quote. Sources further reported that the searches were, quote, based on a search warrant issued by the Southern District of New York. I heard all of those, so he's not lying. I saw all of those headlines. On March 27, 2 days after the searches of Mr. Combs' residence, an agent specifically identified as working for DHS made public statements to, among other media, the New York Post that, quote, we believe that there is a disturbing history of ex-trafficking. We are responding to concrete, detailed, explicit allegations. This is not random. We didn't choose his name out of a hat. We had allegations that we're following up on, end quote. The source identified by the Post as, quote, an officer with the Department of Homeland Security, end quote, went to tell the press, quote, you have to understand that we didn't just decide on a whim to search his homes. A federal judge had to sign off. This isn't a witch hunt. The DHS operative further shared, quote, that's a funny thing about victims. They may be reluctant to speak at first, but once they start talking, they talk. They talk a lot. We are getting a lot of cooperation from a lot of people who want to see him brought to justice, end quote. The New York Post further described the source of these quotes as, quote, a Miami-based officer who spoke under condition of anonymity and confirmed Mr. Combs, quote, is under investigation. 2 days later, on March 29, 2024, quote, the law enforcement sources told ABC News that, quote, prosecutors have interviewed a number of Diddy's accusers, including those who have filed civil lawsuits. The next day, on March 30th, a reporter at the New York Post stated to News Nation that, according to, quote, Homeland Security sources, that the investigation into Combs was, quote, the tip of the iceberg, and that, quote, nothing was off the table. Ooh. Now, interesting now that nothing is off the table came out in the press conference when somebody asked, like, basically about the investigation and will there be more indictments forthcoming, and he said nothing is off the table. That's what the U.S. attorney said at the press conference. Y'all remember? Let's go on. Oh, he said that in a footnote. Wait a minute. This the same phrase, quote, nothing is off the table, was also used by the United States attorney during the press conference announcing the indictment in this case. See, I remember, sir. I hadn't even read that footnote. I was just reading, you know. Let's go On April 2nd of 2024, a media outlet called The Source reported that, quote, sources close to the case shared that authorities had requested, quote, telecommunication records related to Combs. It further reported that, quote, the source who requested anonymity, I know I'm saying that wrong. I always say it wrong. Due to the sensitivity of the matter, disclosed that Homeland Security investigators are also keen on obtaining flight records associated with Combs. These flight records, including passenger lists, could provide valuable insights into Combs' movement and activities. Within the first week of the searches, the agents, all of whom were involved in an ongoing grand jury investigation, informed the press that purported victims had been interviewed, that they had obtained and executed search warrants, that they were obtaining telecommunications and flight records, that their grand jury investigation was, quote, getting a lot of cooperation from a lot of people who want to see him brought to justice, end quote, and that the grand jury investigation into Combs was, quote, the tip of the iceberg, end quote. In addition, the agent's public statements were solely designed to prejudice the grand jury and the public, such as, quote, we believe that there is a disturbing history of trafficking. We are responding to concrete, detailed, explicit allegations. This is not random. We didn't choose his name out of a hat. We had allegations that we're following up on. Between the grand jury leaks and the incendiary public statements, the agents all but ensured that the grand jury would be tainted, as well as the general public, from which we will soon select a jury. The inflammatory and false public statements continue up to the present. On September 18th of 2024, a, quote, Department of Homeland Security agent told the New York Post that, quote, the music mogul had rooms that were clearly dedicated to X with cameras all around. The source was identified as one of the DHS agents who helped raid Mr. Combs' Florida abode, and further described, quote, video evidence obtained during the investigation. This agent went on to tell the press, so if you were in those X parties, you were being recorded from every possible angle, including angles you wouldn't have known about. The Homeland Security agent then told the New York Post, in my opinion, he's as bad as Jeffrey Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Okay. For a government employee to make statements to a New York Post reporter are false, damaging, and prejudicial. The indictment alleges a single victim as part of the trafficking charge, an adult woman with whom Mr. Combs had a romantic relationship for 10 years. For the agent to make public statements that the conduct involves, quote, barely legal women and that Combs is as bad as Jeffrey Epstein is destructive to Mr. Combs' right to a fair trial, particularly in light of the fact that the only victim in the indictment was an adult throughout the charged conduct. Taken together, the false and prejudicial statements and leaks serve to feed further sensationalistic media coverage and prejudice potential jurors in advance of trial. Do you guys get what he's saying right now? You feel what he's saying? I wonder how many calls musicians made asking Diddy to make music like he promised them, or how many people called Diddy asking why they can't remember anything or why they are sore they went ignored. Miss HLS said the New York Post isn't a credible source. I don't even click on their articles. Okay, so you said you paid them dust. You didn't care about what they were talking about. You were like, oh no, if it's not MSNBC, my local paper, it's a no. It's a no for me. Is that what you're saying? Y'all with this hood court. I started to do it with the Krishan situation because he did. That's another situation. We need some hood court one day soon. Okay. Thank you so much for being a member for 6 months. I appreciate it. Forever T, thank you so much for gifting a membership. I appreciate it. Let's go on because we have a lot to read. Sensible Creation Sister, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Linda Gibbs said, my mother made us sit in the same pew as she did, the second row, until she became an usher. Then we caught a break. Linda, you must be at the beginning of this live, huh? She must just be coming in because we talked about that like an hour ago. And we talking about 504. Okay, let's go on. The leaked hotel videotape. Let's get into the tape. In the midst of this 7-month campaign, Mr. Combs' reputation before trial, to impugn Mr. Combs' reputation before trial, on Friday, May 17, 2024, a 2016 videotape from the Intercontinental Hotel in LA was leaked to CNN. By far, the most likely source of that leak is the government. That is true for several reasons. First, as set forth above, by May 17, 2024, federal agents had already engaged in a months-long campaign of leaking information to the press. They had a demonstrated propensity of embracing contacts of numerous press outlets and leaking information in order to produce media coverage. So, for the question somebody asked about when the tape was leaked, it was, okay, so the raid was in March, and the leak of the videotape to CNN was in May, according to this. So that would have been a couple of months after the raid. Second, victim one is not a likely source of the leak. There is no evidence that either she or her lawyers had possession of the tape. To the contrary, had either victim one or her lawyer had the tape, the allegation in the civil complaint would have been entirely different and far more specific than they were. Moreover, victim one had no motive to approach law enforcement, much less leak a videotape. She had sued Mr. Combs and received a substantial 8-figure settlement. So we know she at least got $10 million, huh? The government's investigation only began after her lawsuit was settled. Third, an unrelated third party is not a likely source. If a person not in law enforcement were to leak the videotape to a news source, that person likely would have sold the tape rather than simply give it to CNN. Outlets such as TMZ are known to pay tens of thousands of dollars for such footage. That it was leaked instead to CNN shows a motive other than financial profit. It shows a motive to damage Mr. Combs' reputation, which is a motive held by the federal agents. Okay. Guys want to know the other reason? Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Fourth, the timing of the leak suggests government involvement. The tape was leaked on one of the few days that Trump trial was not being held, as Barron Trump, Donald Trump's youngest son, had graduated that day from high school in Florida with his father in attendance. One of the more contentious issues in the 45 trial was whether trial would be stayed so Trump could attend his son's graduation. Eventually, the court announced that May 17th could not be a trial date. This was a fact that would have been known to federal agents, and they also would have known that May 17th was thus a perfect time, as it was slow news days given the break in the Trump trial. That's an interesting deduction that's being made by counsel. Early in the morning of May 17th, a CNN reporter informed a member of Mr. Combs' public relations team that CNN has come across a video from the Intercontinental Hotel. The reporter went on to say, through our reporting, we have confirmed this video is authentic. The reporter sought comment and also stated that CNN was reaching out to victim one's representative for comment. At 10:22 a.m. that morning, defense counsel emailed the prosecution team to say that CNN was in possession of this videotape and that counsel was concerned about the circumstances by which it provided to CNN. The government acknowledged defense counsel's email hours after the tape was made public, but as far as defense counsel is aware, took no further action. Regardless, a few hours after defense counsel made the prosecutors aware that CNN had the tape, CNN released it to overwhelming international attention. The videotape was leaked to CNN for one reason alone. You guys ready to hear the reason why that Diddy says this tape was leaked? It was because to mortally wound the reputation and the prospect of Sean Combs successfully defending himself against these allegations. That's why they said it was released. Rather than using the videotape as trial evidence alongside other evidence that gives it context and meaning, the agents misused it in the most prejudicial and damaging way possible. The government knew what it had: a frankly deplorable video recording of Sean Combs in a towel, hitting, kicking, and dragging a woman in full view of a camera in the hallway of the hotel. The potential problem for the government is that if an agent provided this video to CNN, this would be a violation of grand jury secrecy. This is, among other things, what the hearing will determine, because it is reasonable to believe that this was obtained in connection with the grand jury investigation, that it was intentionally given to CNN to be released to the world, and that there is a strong possibility that the person providing it to CNN was a federal agent involved in the grand jury investigation. The remedy for this conduct should be full suppression of the videotape that the government leaked. Then we have a footnote. And it says, after the undersigned notified the government that we will be filing this motion, prosecutors responded that the video broadcast by CNN was not obtained through grand jury process and that DHS did not have possession of the videotape prior to CNN's publication of it. However, government attorneys have not given any indication that they have investigated any of the leaks related to this case. And as discussed, we are not suggesting that the U.S. Attorney's Office itself leaked the videotape, but given all the evidence cited above and the sheer number of agents involved in the investigation and the history of leaks, it seems entirely reasonable that the video was leaked by one or more DHS agents. So this is my thing with this. How I read that was, to me, it kind of infers, and this is just my opinion, but it kind of infers that Diddy knows that he was the only one with that tape and that he kept that tape in his home, and that kind of the payoff situation that was in the indictment where they said he tried to pay somebody off in order to keep him quiet about the tape, and then eventually he talked to security and then the tape was missing from the server, is what was in the indictment. You know all of this, and this is what I infer from it. You know that all of these different entities, or that Cassie couldn't have leaked it, her attorney couldn't have leaked it. You know all of that because you know you were the one that had it and that they raided your house. And so that leads me back to the question of the fact that you knew that you were under investigation. Why in the whole hell is all it like you? So what did you thought this? Did you forget you had the video? Like, because that's what you're basically what's being inferred from this is that they had to get it when they did their raid of his electronics. You know what I'm saying? Like, this don't sound very helpful to me, but my Keystones, thank you so much for the super chat. You said the people that settle so far with Tony Busby civilly, can't the feds still go in and charge those celebs criminally? Please go into detail if you can. So yeah, if to me he was very vague. And if he has settled some of these cases, the civil and criminal are two different entities. So just because you settle civilly, now basically what you do in the civil settlement is you're going to say, I'm settling for this my amount. Of course, there's no admission of guilt by the person. They're going to say it's no admission of guilt. They're going to say this is to remain confidential. probably some penalty if you do put it out there. However, there's always a clause in there that says you can't talk about it unless it is you're ordered to talk about it by a court of competent jurisdiction. Like, you cannot contract away the court's right to review any of those settlement documents. So yes, from a criminal liability standpoint, that doesn't absolve them. However, the government has to know that they exist. We don't know if these alleged people even exist, because according to Busby, he's saying people were personally texting him videos. So there may not have even been videos that the government has, and they may not even know these people exist. So they would have to know that they exist, or they would have to go to the feds, or whatever for them to exist. Now, if the feds know they exist, yeah, just them settling civilly doesn't mean anything. They can still pursue it criminally. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Petty Patty said Diddy sick self probably watched that video from time to time. That's just... Well, you said the tape was leaked before the raid. Well, the raid, according to this, was in March, and the tape came out in May. That's what's being alleged in this document. For Always Forever said at Pan, I believe I heard that the hotel had given Cassie a copy of the tape when she tried to come back to the hotel to apologize to Diddy because she was scared that he was going to be mad that she left. Oh, wow. Y'all haven't heard that one. It could be. It could be. You could be right. So anyway, those are basically all of the facts as to why they're saying that there is a leak, and they're asking the court for an evidentiary hearing, and then they go on to tell the court where their authority is. So it's a bunch of case law that the court has authority to investigate the government's actions and to order appropriate remedies. And it tells you that's pursuant to the federal rules of criminal procedures. And then they also have a violation of Rule 6E occurs when a covered person discloses, quote, anything that will reveal what transpired during the grand jury proceeding. So what will be interesting is if he gets the grand jury transcripts and they go before the grand jury, let's just say in April of 2024, and a part of the grand jury transcript shows that they showed this tape to the grand jury, which would mean it probably was confiscated. Sounds like they were grand jury type subpoenas is how they were able to raid the house or to search the house and get the electronics. And that transcript shows that that tape was actually shown in the grand jury. That'll be a way, I guess, that they can see. Now, if it wasn't no way shown at all, and then with the U.S. Attorney's Office saying, just because they confiscated the tapes, meaning Department of Homeland Security, typically they confiscate it and they turn it over. There's a chain of custody, like, they document whose hands it all goes in. And then it has to be the government, especially when you're taking certain devices, you getting forensics, and then people look into it to actually view the recordings. So what would have had to happen is the Department of Homeland Security, I'm just talking this out at live in real time, out loud. The Department of Homeland Security would have had to confiscate these electronics. Instead of immediately turning it over, they decided to act like it was a Netflix movie and actually review it and be like, oh, dang, he just kicked her in the head. I'm about to take this little clip and I'm going to keep it. And then I'm going to let CNN have it. As opposed to you gather it, document what you gather on your evidence sheets and turn it over like you're supposed to. So I don't know. I'm kind of having a hard time believing that Department of Homeland Security actually leaked this now that I'm thinking about it. So the only alternative would be maybe Cassie did have a copy. Maybe the hotel said, yeah, buddy, we're going to keep this over your head just in case I need it in the future. Maybe it wasn't the only tape. Name change said Diddy had watch parties. No telling who had recorded it. Yeah, I'm thinking it may have been some other people that had copies, because to me that seems implausible. Even as you go in there, you get the stuff that you get. You have someone that processes it, you write down. But as far as like actually looking at the stuff, I'm not sure that they actually would be like reviewing it. Why would they review it? Their job is to get the stuff. HB5 said, I think it was a disgruntled hotel employee of one of Diddler's employees. It could have been. Yeah. Can Diddy appeal his bail all the way to the Supreme Court? You are really writing like you were texting me right then, because that's exactly how I read my kids like text messages. Like, what are we saying right here? Because I still write in like straight full sentences. Thank you so much for the super chat. I don't think Supreme Court is going to grant cert for bail unless it was just something so egregious that they feel like they got to set some precedent on for the land. But no, I think he may have a little bit of a shot in the court. He has a better shot in the Court of Appeals than he would. And I think it would be more based on maybe the court not articulating properly what they based it on in the district court. But he may have a little bit of a shot. We'll see. Right, 504. That's why I had to look for a second. I was thinking the same thing. My Keystone. I was like, did he just say sperm? What does this have to do? What does this have to do when we're talking? We're getting way to the right now. What are we talking about? Yeah, I had to look twice. I had to squint and stop. Like, wait a minute. I ain't lied. I have to admit, I thought the same thing when I first looked at it. Let's skim through here because I'm not about to do all this. Okay. Federal courts are obligated to enforce the rule by imposing sanctions on those who violated secrecy provision. Then it has all of the authority for that. More generally, this court has inherent authority under its supervisory powers to address this sort of misconduct. Then it has the authority for that. Pretrial statements to the press that have the tendency to prejudice a criminal defendant's right to a fair trial are prohibited by Rule 3.6 of the New York Rules of Professional Conduct. Additionally, federal regulations bar all Department of Justice employees, not just attorneys, from making prejudicial information prior to trial. The release of information for the purpose of influencing a trial is, of course, always improper. Then it has a bunch of case law for that. This court also has the authority and indeed the duty to investigate government misconduct. Most often, conducting a hearing is the preferred course of action in cases where disputed factual issues exist. Then it has case law for that. Moreover, the court has authority to impose a gag order. That is, an order prohibiting extrajudicial statements by any lawyer, party, witness, or court official which divulge prejudicial matters. That's what Ernest Williams was trying to do for us, but the court was like, denied. But he added media to his. He had lawyers, parties, witnesses, court officials, media, bloggers, YouTubers. No, he ain't name us all like that. But yeah, he was talking about the media too. The courts have an ongoing obligation to ensure that speech about a criminal case does not prejudice the proceedings. And then finally, once the court has ascertained the full extent of the misconduct, it has wide latitude to fashion an appropriate remedy. Okay, then it gives you the case law for that. Defendants reserve their right to seek one or more of these remedies, including suppression of the videotape following an evidentiary hearing. So this is the relief that they are requesting. Okay. You guys ready? We're at the end of this journey. We made it through another Diddy pleading. Miss HLS says someone else had the tape. I think it did. I think someone else had the tape and they but I do think it is very interesting that I do think a tape like that is worth money. So that kind of does lead me a little bit back to the government, but not necessarily Homeland Security, because people do shop their tapes to see to TMZ, and TMZ does pay for stuff. Like they pay for videos, they'll pay for pictures, they do pay for that. So because of that, that doesn't make sense for somebody who has held on to it unless they just want him to go down. So either Cassie, maybe because I'm sure her release, but I don't know, because her release probably doesn't allow her to talk about anything, or she got to get that money back. Would that be considered talking about it by just like accidentally leaving a little videotape on the counter, and then your sister, somebody pick it up and take it home and then give it to CNN on accident? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I don't know how they're going to prove where it came from, because you're talking about the government. So what you about to do? Try to seize their computers and do a forensic investigation? Like, how is that going to go? How is that really going to work? How are you going to find this stuff out? What are chances of them granting the gag order? I don't think they're it's a constitutional issue when you try to grant gag orders. So who are you gagging? The people that shouldn't be talking anyway? Because obviously there's certain information that shouldn't come out anyway. Like when you look at U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, when he did his press conference, a lot of it he was saying what was in the actual public indictment. That's what he talked about. He doesn't really come out here and talk. His people are not coming out here to talk and do press conferences. That's not what they're doing. So I don't know. Jazzy said, "Hi, Pam. Considering the massive lawsuits filed against Diddy, do you think at some point he will file for bankruptcy, and would that be a smart move?" Well, some of those lawsuits have to do with like personal injuries, intentional torts, which is like what defamation is, or like physical injury. And a lot of those are not dischargeable in bankruptcy anyway. If he did get a judgment. So if he files bankrupt, because if he files bankruptcy, let me go back to what you're saying, because I'm thinking about him having judgments already. I guess I'm putting the cart before the horse. So scratch all that I just said. So filing bankruptcy. Well, if he filed bankruptcy, it would stay the proceedings. So nothing can go forward. If he filed bankruptcy, it would stay the proceedings. But if he's found guilty, they're going to take everything he got anyway. So then he's not going to have anything to give, though. But he has to prove he's in debt. Like, is he currently in debt in order to even file bankruptcy? He has to qualify for bankruptcy. You can't abuse the bankruptcy system. You can't abuse the bankruptcy protection. So I think that would be a way where they probably wouldn't get anything if he filed bankruptcy. It's an interesting concept. Because again, if you file bankruptcy, then you list all of the potential, you list your debt, and you also list all the potential debt, which would be lawsuits out there. And you're protected. So if somebody sues you, you'll say you're in bankruptcy protection, and the court can't do anything until you're out of bankruptcy. So what if he's not out of bankruptcy until if he pleads guilty to something? This is just hypothetical. If he pleads guilty to something, and then as part of that, he has to forfeit millions of dollars, so he don't have anything. But on the flip side, in theory, because he's in a criminal case, he can ask them to stay his civil cases anyway, because he can't be sitting for depositions right now, because he has the right not to self-incriminate. But thank you so much for, making me think right there. And thank you for the super chat, Jazzy. I appreciate it. Early Morning Vibe said it was said that he got 3 mortgages from 3 different homes so he could lawyer up. Oh, wow. So he probably doesn't have any liquid cash, like when they said he was a billionaire. That was based on assets, I'm sure. I don't know how much liquid cash, but they said he had like $1 million that he just kept on him in cash. We don't know. Yeah, strike that. Strike everything I said before. CNN could have just requested the tape from the hotel, but said it was leaked for hype, allegedly, although it didn't need. Well, the hotel no longer exists. So they couldn't have requested that. It no longer existed. And plus, if you read the indictment says that when it comes to the hotel, let me see if I could pull that. I believe in the indictment it has, let me see. Diddy. Indictment. Okay. So in the indictment, when they talk about the hotel, let me see. I'm trying to find out. Because I know they mentioned this thing in the indictment, I thought. Or maybe they did. Did they talk about this in the indictment? Or did they talk about it in one of these? Oh, yeah, they said, okay, so physical abuse. Number 4. I'm going to pull that up right quick. Number 4. Let's pull up that handy dandy indictment. Okay. Okay, so on number 4, it has physical abuse by Sean Combs. The defendant was recurrent and widely known on numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years. Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she attempted to leave. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Combs' violence was also not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, witnesses, and to his abuse and others. Witnesses to his abuse and others. So in one of these, I don't even know if it was this one in the actual indictment or if it was in the press conference or one of these pleadings. But in one of these, it was alleged that the security, it'd be interesting because it may have been this person right here who he tried to bribe. Because how would they know that? Combs attempted to bribe the staff member. So perhaps the staff member came forward and talked to the grand jury or talked to the federal government. And it's interesting. They talked to the federal government and but one of the pleadings mentions that they went to that he actually tried to contact security. He tried to contact Cassie, and there were text messages that related to Cassie that they were able to pull. And then he talked to security at the hotel. And then I guess when they looked on the server, the tape was no longer there. So apparently it sounds like he may have had it because the way he is describing in this motion, saying that it had to be by the government, how it got leaked, it sounds to me that he thought he was the only one with that tape. That's what it sounds like to me. So, Fine 9J said the location doesn't exist, but Intercontinental does. Heck, the security guy at the time could have had a copy. He would have had to had a copy because even if, let's just assume the hotel was still there, okay? Hotels do not just keep videotapes. They don't just do that. Usually after about 30 days, they tape over it. That's why when you have incidents that occur that happens at gas stations or places that you know have cameras, if I have a client that comes to me, I have to do a letter of preservation for them not to destroy the tapes. So even assuming that that hotel is still in the exact same hotel is in the same place, which we know it's not there anymore, because I had people in LA that were telling me that. So knowing that it's not there, the tape probably wouldn't be there anyway. Because, for obvious reasons. Because they tape over it. But anyways, let's finish out their request. This is what they are requesting. Based on the foregoing, Mr. Combs requests the following relief. First, this court should order an evidentiary hearing to investigate the misconduct detailed above, as well as other misconduct that may yet come to light. Here, the defense has made a prima facie showing that a hearing should be held because it is clear, quote, agents involved in this investigation spoke to the press, end quote, about matters relating to or affecting the grand jury and leaked evidence. The agents here were specifically identified in press accounts as HSI officers and DHS operatives, and specifically as Miami-based officers who helped raid Mr. Combs' Florida abode. These officers disclosed specific information about the investigation, including its target, the type of search warrants obtained, and material sought, what witnesses had reported to prosecutors, and actual evidence, revealing the nature or direction of the grand jury proceeding. Second, in advance of that hearing, this court should order relevant discovery from the government. This should include any emails and text messages by any government attorneys or law enforcement agents regarding these and any other leaks of information about the investigation or prosecution of this case. Third, this court should immediately enter an order forbidding government attorneys and agents involved in this case from leaking any further information to the media. The order should cover all grand jury material as well as other non-public information related to the investigation and prosecution of this case. Fourth, after the evidentiary hearing and the extent and nature of the misconduct has been clarified, Mr. Combs will submit requests for any additional appropriate remedies, including disqualification of witnesses, suppression of evidence, including the 2016 video, or dismissal of charges in this indictment. And that's that. Could the police had it when they got there because Diddy said they came in the text? Listen, if the police actually got it, then that should be public record and it should be a police report. So that would be interesting. I do like Homeland Security allegedly going to these the press. I do think it does appear to be improper to say, oh, well, 3 women and a man went to the grand jury. I mean, I think that does show that obviously somebody is talking with the information that they have. But again, the tape situation, I think it's going to be difficult to prove that it came from the government. That's just me. So good luck with trying to get that suppressed based on that. Perhaps you can get it suppressed for other reasons. However, I would be very, very shocked if they are able to prove that it came from the government, just based on my initial evaluation of what they're saying. Oh, that's it. That's all we got. Robbie said, doesn't the mortgages constitute debt? Well, on one of the homes, remember, he paid it off because he was trying to use it as collateral. But yeah, you may have equity in the home still, even if you got mortgages on your home. For always forever said, remember Diddy pays cops off for years. Allegedly, that's what they say. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But I'm glad that you're confident in my abilities. I appreciate that. I really, really do. But I don't think it's nothing I can do. All I can do is report over here on the platform. And if I throw out little nuggets, everyone can catch them, be it the defense or the government. Y'all can just catch them if I just, happen to say something that's beneficial. That's it. Ooh. All minds clear? Huh? Can the defense prove what's in this filing, or are they throwing spaghetti against the wall? They're trying to do an evidentiary hearing. That's what their point is, which is basically a hearing. They want to get discovery of emails and all of that, and they want a hearing so that they can try to see, where did these leaks come from? Okay, let me see if any of these attachments are worth talking about. Exhibit 1. No. They have all these exhibits, but it looks like it's basically all of the articles from the New York Post. Sean Diddy Combs' alleged victims talking a lot. Feds claim concrete, detailed, explicit allegations of trafficking. So he attached, looks like he attached different exhibit. Raids, Channel 7, raids of Diddy's properties signal federal prosecutors in New York are confident in case, says an expert. That's from Channel 7, Eyewitness News, Detroit, Lord, New York. We have a Channel 7 too. The next was from Source Magazine. Homeland Security investigation targets Sean Diddy Combs. Request flight records. Exhibit 7. Nothing off the table as feds set to widen Diddy probe, from the News Nation. Diddy's as bad as Epstein, says officer who saw his ex rooms hidden cameras during Miami mansion raid. Diddy, Daily Mail had Diddy is as bad as Epstein, says cop who raided disgraced hip hop mogul's Miami mansion, where police found ex rooms used to host freak offs. TMZ, Diddy, more accusers coming forward talking to feds after arrest. Exhibit 11. Goodness. The Mirror has Sean exclusive. Sean Diddy Combs probe team launch UK victim search as they jet in from US. So that was basically all the exhibits that they had attached with all these news articles. Okay. Anything else happened while I was on here before we get off? Because I ain't, let's see. Let's see what Tracy talking about. What is this? Yep. So they restricted access to. I'll look at it for you. Tracy's probably not over here. They restricted access to one of the case. Dr. Dre, sued by his former marriage counselor for allegedly harassing him, claims Dre sent goons dressed as FBI agents to his house. You effed with the wrong one. What? Neighbors, get into this. This is from the Neighborhood Talk. Dr. Dre has found himself in some legal trouble. According to TMZ, Dr. Dre has been sued by his former marriage counselor for allegedly harassing the man. The doctor, Charles Sophie, claims that he assisted Dr. Dre and his estranged wife, Nicole, with couples therapy and also acted as a mediator during their divorce. Sophie claims Dre began bombarding him with abusive and threatening text messages 14 months after the divorce was finalized, accusing him of using a third-party source to trash him in the media. He alleges Dre sent some goons to his house, posed as FBI agents to track him down and send a message. Sophie even provided proof of Dr. Dre's harassing messages. Dre called Sophie a biatch and a piece of ish over text and threatened to make you pay for that. Sophie said he's so afraid he has to walk around with a bulletproof vest. He has beefed up the security at home as well. Sophie is suing for $10 million. He also wants Dre to stay the hell away from him, 100 feet to be exact. Okay, so it's some text message. Prescription, wow, you effing with the wrong one. March 5th of 2023. What happened, Doc? I thought you wanted to talk. Cat got your tongue? You're going to have to give me a written apology. If not, I'm moving forward. I'm not playing. Trust me. August 25th of 2023. Hey, Doc, of whatever the F you're pretending to be, just know this. I'm not going anywhere until you explain to me why you try to talk whoever into saying negative things about me to the media. You're a piece of ish. Friday, August 4th. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about you. Dude, he not responding to any of this stuff. And then he says, excuse me? The doctor's like, excuse me? And then he says, yes, you're a piece of ish. Then the doctor said, good morning. This is February 17th, 2023. Good morning. I have no idea what you're referring to and would make myself available anytime to discuss. Thank you. He responded, Dre said, you effed up. Just so you know, I love being underestimated. Blank and I selected you to be a trusted helping professional. I'm assuming his ex-wife named Nicole, for blank time of need. You stayed on as our couples counselor and then as blank primary therapist during our divorce. All ethical breaches of conduct. From there, you inserted yourself into the divorce. Let's see. Attempting to convince me to settle according to her terms. I tolerated your malfeasance at the time, hoping to try anything to bring our ugly divorce to an end, but I was well aware of how wildly inappropriate your involvement was at the time, and now tells me that during that same period, you encouraged blank to turn against me to the press to further ruin my name. I suppose there's one of the clinical strategies you're outlined in your guide to family values. Let me be crystal clear with you. I know a charlatan when I see one. Information is readily available, and I'm well aware of your reputation and the ethical breaches of conduct that have followed your career, especially during your tenure at DCFS. Fortunately, hearing you defend your choices of clinical interventions to the medical board, particularly as it relates to blank, will bring me some satisfaction. Dang, Dre. Jeesh. Dre was mad. Dre is not happy right now. Okay, let me see. Is my sister on here? Because she just sent me something on Instagram, and I don't know if it's because she want me to play this on here or not. Pay attention. It's gonna be a huge distract. Wait a minute. Let me see what this is.
between October 1st and October 15th, 2024. You need to pay attention. There's going to be massive distractions that are going to get you to look this way as the whole financial system switches this way. Now, what I'm sharing with you is just my opinion and my research.
Oh, okay. This is that she trying to save my life on this reel. So that ain't for this. Okay, Elite Leo said, I keep seeing something about Devante from Jodeci involved in one of the assaults. Anyone heard about that? I did hear something about Jodeci, but I'm not sure what it was. I did hear something about Jodeci too. Let me see. Look, I'm up here. Yeah, somebody, I think Empire just said, and his Devante named in Diddy lawsuit. So I guess Devante Swing. Yeah, I guess he is named in something. Whew, it's a lot going on. Let me make sure I ain't missed nothing since I've been on here. I don't see nothing else. What else y'all got? The amended complaint. I look at the so they probably put more. Oh, that's interesting. They actually sealed an amended complaint. I'll look at it and see what it says. Somebody want to tell me what happened with Devante from Jodeci, because a couple of the intellects want to know. Tracy, do you have that information? Tracy, what happened with Devante? Because we know you are a legal researchist over here. One thing Tracy is gonna find is every complaint. Yeah, I saw it, Tracy, that you sent the case number for that one. Is that the one? The one with Devante is the one for the case number you sent me? Hold on. Is that in the Southern District? Oh, that's what you sent me. Okay. Filed by Liza. Is this in New Jersey? Where is this at? Because remember, he filed one against Aaron Haas. So there was one that was filed in New Jersey, right? So this is what I'm thinking. It might be the same. Because this Liza Gardner, this is the same. This sounds like the same person. Let me find it. It was they dismissed it and then refiled it. Let me pull this up real quick. Liza Gardner, Sean Combs. Because that's what I'm thinking. This is the same case. Let me see. Yeah, because it was the wrong jurisdiction and it had to be in New Jersey. You said yes, the Aaron Hall one. Okay, yeah. So it's probably the same case, and it's Blackburn too. So take that what you will. So it has Sean Combs, Aaron Hall. So did they just add? Are you saying they added Devante to it? Is that what happened for this one? Because this is the case. Let me show y'all real quick. So we just up here, shooting the breeze since we've been on 2 hours every day all week. Okay. So this was the one that was in New York. And remember, so this was the one. Miss Gardner was invited to NYC by close friends who are members of chart-topping recording group Jodeci. At the time, Jodeci was signed to MCA Records. Miss Gardner and the members of Jodeci are all from North Carolina. In 1990, prior to inviting Miss Gardner to NYC, Jodeci was signed by hip-hop artist Heavy D to Uptown Records, a label that was a subsidiary of UMG. Jodeci was signed to Uptown employee Sean Combs, who took on the task of developing the new acts. The group was introduced after providing background vocals on the 90s song Treat Them Like They Want to Be Treated. Forever My Lady is the debut studio album of Jodeci, released in 91 by Uptown Records and MCA Records. The end of summer into the fall of 1990, MCA held an event at their New York City offices. Ms. Gardner and her friends met Combs and Hall at the offices of MCA Records for this event. So that's that same. Let me see. So he was added to the. So now she's saying that that the people from Jodeci. What is she saying though? Because in this one, she's saying they invited her. Wait. No, I'm curious. Okay. After the MCA events, Ms. Gardner recalls attending dinner with Jodeci, Combs, and Hall. Combs and Hall were very flirtatious and handsy with Ms. Gardner and her friend. They offered them drinks throughout the night. At the age of 16, Ms. Gardner was a minor in 1990 and incapable of consenting to drink alcohol. Towards the end of the night, Ms. Gardner and her friends were invited by Combs and Hall back to his apartment for an after party. It's important to note that Ms. Gardner was wearing a black skirt with a button-up blouse. While at Hall's apartment, Ms. Gardner was offered more drinks and was physically forced to having sex with Combs against her will. At the time Combs assaulted Ms. Gardner, she recalls feeling the side effects of the alcohol. She recalls Combs mounting her and forcing up her skirt, pulling her underwear to the side and forcibly penetrating her. The age of consent in New York was 17 at the time. He sexually assaulted her. After Combs finished doing his business, Ms. Gardner laid in the bed, shocked and traumatized. As she was in the process of getting dressed, Hall barged into the room, pinned her down, and forced Miss Gardner to have sex with him. After Hall finished, Miss Gardner quickly got dressed and ran out of Hall's apartment. Her friend left shortly thereafter. Miss Gardner's friend shared with her that she too had sex with Combs and Hall in another room. Upon information and belief, when Combs finished with Miss Gardner, he and Hall switched and they commenced intercourse with Miss Gardner's friend. The following day, Combs came to the home where Miss Gardner and her friend were staying. Combs were irate and began assaulting and choking Miss Gardner to the point that she passed out. Combs was searching for her friend because she was worried that she would tell the girl he was with at the time that he and Hall had done to them. How the heck did Devante get in this? They saying Devante was watching in the bathroom? Whoa. That's interesting. Well, you ain't getting nothing out of Devante. Do he got anything to get? Just saying. Is this in New Jersey? Is that what you're telling me? Wait a minute. Which part of New Jersey is this in, Tracy? Let me look this up right quick. And I wonder why it's under seal. That's very interesting. New Jersey. I'm because I know there was an issue. They had to dismiss the case. I thought he wasn't going to refile it. I was like, this is his out because he be jacking up with these cases. It sounds like because he got that UMG issue. Let me see. Query. Okay, so that was just filed today. How do people know what's going on in this case if it's sealed? Motion to leave to appear. Pro Hoc VJ. Letter. So let me wait a minute. Wait. Amended complaint. They said I ain't got no permission to view it. Yeah. That is very interesting. The plaintiff shall file her anticipated amended complaint by October 8th. Plaintiff shall file a motion for remand. If any by October 8th, plaintiff does not move to remand this action to New Jersey State Court, then defendant shall answer or move to dismiss the amended complaint. Let me go back here. Okay, so they just looks like they just moved. They transferred everything over, and then let me see. Case summary. Liza Gardner against Sean Combs, Aaron Hall, UMG Records, Universal Music, ABC Corps, and Donald Earl DeGrate Jr. My. So how you guys figuring out what's in this complaint if it's under seal? Did somebody get the complaint anyway? Did he email it to somebody? I need somebody to help me out here. I'm trying to see if it's something on here that gives some type of information of any kind. September 3rd letter. Let me see what this letter says. What is this exhibit? Exhibit to amend the complaint. Exhibit 1, 2, and 3. How was they able to do this under seal? This is interesting. I'm so intrigued. Like, how were you able to get this under seal? Y'all make sure you hit that like button. We already went over what the topic was. We just trying to figure out this other stuff happening in these YouTube streets. Okay. What in the world? Yikes. Jodeci member Devante Swing named as a co-defendant alongside Diddy in alleged sexual assault of a minor in 1990. Lawsuit claims he watched it happen. Neighbors, more details continue to spill as the Diddy lawsuits pile up. In the latest update, a member of the legendary 90s R&B group Jodeci has been named in a lawsuit against Diddy and Aaron Hall. A lawsuit from Liza Gardner was announced back in November against Diddy and singer Aaron Hall. She accused the two of actually assaulting her in 1990 when she was 16 and highly intoxicated. In a now amended complaint, Gardner has added Devante Swing into the bunch of co-defendants. She claims the R&B group member was present at Aaron Hall's home where she was allegedly assaulted. Not only was he at the home, but in the actual room when it happened, according to her. Why would she leave that out in the first complaint, though? Wait a minute, because hold on. Oh my God. Lord have mercy. This is just dumb. Let's go on to his interview where Aaron Hall was his own worst enemy. And talk about his legal troubles. We don't. Okay. That seems like something that would have been in the first complaint. Like, you had to know that when you wrote the first complaint. See what I'm saying? Some of this stuff is like, we do not have to put extra cherries on top to some of this stuff. Okay, so unbeknownst to Miss Gar, and they quoting it, so somebody got this. Somebody must have got this complaint, whether it's under seal or not. Unbeknownst to Miss Gardner, at the time, Devante Swing was in the room when this assault took place and did not take any steps to prevent this abuse from occurring, according to the lawsuit obtained by Rolling Stone. So they sent it over to Rolling Stone. According to another woman, he was leaning against the wall or furniture or something, watching whatever Puffy was doing to Liza. In the same complaint, Gardner says Swing was believed to be with 20 or 21 at the time, making him a few months older than Diddy. According to the lawsuit, Diddy was in charge of developing the group at the time. As for Aaron Hall, 26 at the time, Gardner claims he allegedly barged into the room, pinned her down, and RA'd her after Diddy was done. She claims that Diddy showed up the day after the assaults and choked her until she passed out. The lawsuit accuses Swing of aiding and abetting as Gardner's co-guardian. What? At the time, since he invited her on the trip, he had a duty to protect the child as her parents entrusted him with her safety. That's your argument against Devante? Hidden intention of providing the child with alcohol, marijuana, and prostituting the child to the A&R Combs. Whoo, that's deep. So he's trying to allege that they were invited, that her and her friend was invited, and the intent of Devante, according to what's being quoted, is that he was going to give them over, such as prostitution, give them over to have this happen to them. Well, jeez, oh Pete. You said I didn't. You didn't. You ain't listened to their songs. I didn't know these guys were so nasty bad in back in the 90s. Tracy said, right, I've been all over Twitter looking to see if they posted the amended complaint. No, that what happened is oftentimes attorneys, especially with Rolling, I know a couple of people that have done that with Rolling Stone. They'll just give them the complaint. And honestly, depending on when they gave them the complaint, hopefully they gave, like, how is it under seal but y'all got a copy of it? I mean, that's just common sense. And I wonder why it is under seal like that, where you can't open it. That's interesting to me. But anyway, all right, you guys, any other news that we need to go over before we get off of here? Because I'm about to get off of here. I'd have missed a couple other people's lives on here that I wanted to watch. I think I might post if I go over there to Worth TV. That's Nikki Gilbert's. Thank you guys for all supporting when is she over there now? I don't even know if I could share my thing. Let me see if I could find her thing. She's gonna talk about her case. She has a case against Lionsgate right now. And I'm gonna go over there. If you guys go over there, you know how we do. We show up and let people know. I just be trying to support. This is her. She's on right now at WRIF TV. Let's see if I can share this. I don't know what she over there talking about it. She's the P Valley stuff. That's what she's in litigation for. Let me see if I could put that in the chat right quick. We're gonna go over there and we're gonna show out, show our support. Let's see. Let me see. See if I could copy this link. I'll be a little slow with this stuff. I don't know why I can't do it on my phone. I'll put this over there in the thingy. Girl, I don't know how to redirect Andrea. I wish I did. Child, I don't know how to do it. Make sure y'all go over there right now and load it up with the doggone scales of justice. Let them know we support you. We support what you're doing over there. Sometimes other people need support as well. Child, I don't know how to redirect it, girl. I wish I did. I don't know how. I don't know how. Let me see. All right, let's all go over there right now. All of a sudden, she's going to get bombarded with the intellects. All right. Thank you guys so much for your support. I'm about to head over there to Worth TV and see what Nikki over there talking about. And thank you guys so much for supporting. Thanks for all the super chats, all the memberships. I appreciate it. And we'll be back as soon as something else happens. And it'll probably be about Diddy the way it's looking. So I'm going to quit saying I don't want to talk about him because apparently that's what's going on right now. But you guys have a good night. I'll see you over there. Bye.